So here we could have the first ever luxury Timex watch. And indeed, it's the first in this Timex Atelier range. And yeah, from all the marketing imagery I've seen of this watch, the whole mood and vibe of this thing is trying to be similar to luxury high-end watches. And the price is certainly getting up there to boot. And in some ways, it was the price that kind of made me more curious with this one. Because at the standard retail price, this one is 900 Great British pounds. I think that's equivalent to about, what, 1100 US dollars at the moment. So certainly not a cheap Timex. And despite that high price point, these seem to be creating a lot of chatter online. They seem to be selling quite well. And it actually says here, indeed, low stock. Maybe it's just YouTubers buying them, who knows, but I doubt it. So people are clearly still seeing value in this one. And as such, I couldn't resist checking it out to see how different or the same this is from some of their lower end offerings. And as you might imagine at this price, thankfully, there are some substantial differences between this and some of their lower end models. So we'll get into that during this unboxing. I'll give you my general first impressions as to whether I think it's worth it or not. Now this one I did buy with my own money, albeit using a discount code on the Timex site. As you might imagine, I want to save every dime possible on a watch at this cost. But you'll find an affiliate link to it in the video description if you do want to check it out. And if you're in the UK, you'll also find a link to the upcoming Manchester Watch Show, which I'll be attending on November the 8th. So if you want to meet me in the flesh for some reason, maybe ask me some questions about YouTube or watches or whatever, that's the perfect opportunity to do so. And they've also got a bunch of different micro brands exhibiting in a really nice venue. It's at Bridgewater Hall in Manchester. So if you want to grab tickets and meet up, then feel free to do so using the link below as well. Now, as for the packaging, this is immediately slightly different. It's like this slight grey tone, as you can see. Not a clue what to expect in here. I haven't seen any video footage of this watch apart from the short clips on the Timex site. I'm going to have to open this one upside down here so as not to destroy the box. Legacy of modernity, it says there. And we have that subtle, dark Timex Atelier branding. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And indeed, it is in a very different box than most. Not seeing this packaging even with the Giorgio Galli. Now that is the most obvious alternative to this watch. The Galli watches I have covered before. They varied in price quite significantly. Here, by the way, we get this, I don't think that's a mark, I think that's intentional. This little booklet thing here whizzes you through the specs, which will save me some time. But yeah, the Timex Galli watch, which is from the same designer, I believe, as this watch. They currently got one of those on sale for like 1,500 quid or something, which is more expensive than this, though that was basically a titanium version of a previous watch, which was a similar cost to this. The original Galli, when I reviewed it, that was much cheaper and actually a really good watch for the price. But that one was never surrounded with the same marketing effort as this one. This one looks like they're really going after some more of the Swiss brands. And, well, on the site at least, this one seems to indicate that this is a Swiss-made watch. Well, here we go. Let's take our first look at it, eh? Okay. Now, to tell you the whole honest truth, I wasn't all that convinced by the online imagery. Now, they've definitely reinforced the protection here. But yeah, I didn't particularly love the look of this watch when I first saw it. Didn't think it was as attractive as the likes of the Galli watches. And this is definitely something different here. Velcro on the back. And first impressions through the plastic. Yeah, I do actually think this is maybe a tiny bit better than I expected, but it's also got some unusual quirks. Let's get this plastic off. I'm already stumped. Yeah, I normally like to undo the clasp first before I peel off the plastic because it makes it easier, but we have really unusual clasp system here. You'll see it's like almost like a butterfly style clasp, but with no obvious way to release it. Maybe you push the links? No? And they might have included lots of this documentation here, but nothing that explains how to operate the clasp, which just seems a bit unusual to me. Oh, there we go. Okay. Ah, so it is maybe friction fit. Now, I was a bit hesitant there because obviously you don't want to break a brand new expensive watch. Okay, so it does appear to be some sort of friction fit mechanism somehow with no obvious release point. I mean, it clicks in really well and it does feel solid. Just, yeah, curious to see how durable that'll be in the long run. It's got two little ball-like things here which kind of slot into these indentations. So yeah, interested to see how that one works. I guess they've really gone tool-free for the entire bracelet because these links are apparently removable without tools as well, which I guess is user-friendly. Feels a pretty solid straight out of the box, but this dial is probably what most of you are after. I have to say this watch looks far better. I know I say this like semi-often with some of these watches because so many of these brands are poor at product imagery basically. But this one is right up there with the biggest discrepancies between online imagery and in person, I must say. And it's not that the styling is significantly different here, but the component quality just, yeah, it looks much better here than it did online, which is what you would hope for a watch at this price, isn't it? Set that to the nice pleasing time. And there you go. There's your first look at the new Timex Atelier. I think they're calling this the Marine M1a. Yeah, that's right, Marine M1a automatic. And then right below that on the Timex site, there's a Swiss-made automatic stainless steel bracelet. That's the version I've got here. They do, or did, also have this on a synthetic rubber strap, and that one was 100 quid less. But yeah, I missed out on that one, didn't I? So I ended up with a more expensive one. And yeah, the dial on this is pretty sleek indeed. Has a really nice sheen to it, which only comes across in person, I suspect. We'll have a look at that movement in a moment too. An unusual arrangement there on the outside. It's like a more minimalist approach to the chapter ring. The stereotypical markers are raised around the inside, and then you've got like an accent ring positioned just inside that encompasses a small portion of each of the markers, which does give it an altogether different look from many other watches. Now, my biggest concern with the design is the bezel. Still not completely convinced by it, particularly this marker at the top center. Not sure exactly what it is. Kind of reminds me of some sort of Thunderbird's iconography or something. As for the feel of the bezel, it's okay. It's certainly nothing special. It's as you might hope, better than most watches, but it's not the best I've felt. The detailing here is, without a doubt, better than most Timex watches. Very clean hands in particular. That's something that some of the budget brands don't tend to do so well, like Casio, for example. And the crystal there looks slightly domed. Now, the other kind of stark feature of this watch is the case. You can see it's got like a half skeletonized finish. And I say half skeletonized because it's not quite as cool as the previous galley watches, I don't think. It's got a very similar kind of skeletonized design, and the finishing itself might be a tiny bit better. It has like an inner chamfered polished edge there, which you might be able to see, and it does look pretty snazzy. But then it has like a black block kind of in the middle on this one, whereas the last one gave you a peek into like a textured silver ring, which I just thought looked a little bit better. Don't know whether this is just for colour reasons or something, but not quite a fan of that compared to the previous one. I think the other one did it better. But even so, it's not often you see a shape like this. Certainly looks different. Really unusual crown guards on this one too. Looks like they've just been kind of bolted on there almost. And yeah, not the biggest fan of that. They're kind of skeletonized themselves though from side on. Now I'll whiz you through the specs on this one, and instead of having to get the listing up, I guess I can just have a look at this sheet they provided. The case here is stainless steel. They're just saying stainless steel, so I anticipate it'll just be 316L. Certainly looks like 316L to me. We have predominantly a brushed finish, just with those polished accents on that hollowed out section. And apparently the inner portion is also stainless steel, just with a black IP coating. And that looks okay, but you know, there is a chance that people could think that that was just plastic, sadly. The bezel here features a ceramic insert, and it's a fairly good looking bezel. Aside from that bit at the top center, just not really sure about that myself. The rest of it's fine. The typeface is okay, maybe passable, I'd say. And apparently it is loomed, which is nice. We'll give that a test at the end for sure. We also have a stainless steel exhibition window. Still not quite used to that class, but yeah, we have a exhibition rear there, and I'm assuming this is going to be a sapphire crystal across the back, but I'm not 100% sure. Movements in the back of this, by the way. It says here, Swiss-made Catena SA100 automatic, and I've seen other people online as well saying that they really don't know much about this movement, and I certainly have never heard of this particular one. This watch, by the way, is 20 ATM water resistant with that screw back there, and we do also have a screw down crown, I would suspect. Indeed we do. And the crown itself, pretty responsive. As for screwing it back in, not bad. Maybe not the absolute slickest I've felt though. The movement there does give this a pretty smooth second hand, 28,800 vibrations per hour, or 4 beats a second. And the hands here, it says high polished silver with Swiss Luminova. Now whether that means they're silver colour or actually made of silver, I'm not sure. Guess this price there is maybe a chance it'd be made of silver for some reason. And the dial there is indeed enamel, and again they say with silver printing, so I'm not sure if that is just in reference to the colour on that one. We'll go on to the size in a moment. This movement, by the way, 36 to 38 hour power reserve. The bracelet here is a stainless steel bracelet, and one of the things that Timex does do with their higher priced watches is come up with some innovations, and this is another one of them. This has got their special link removal system, which I'll show you now. So some of these links have got a P written on them just here, as you can see, and these are the ones that you can use their special mechanism with, so might be a bit fiddly for me to show on camera while doing this, but you're supposed to pull them directly out and then rotate them. And then you can just slide the link off like that, and then you just repeat that as many times as you want to add or remove links. So overall, a pretty neat system, and one of the good things about this system is it doesn't impede the structural feel of the bracelet. It still feels really solid, and I doubt that you can end up activating that by accident. It does require a lot of force to be able to move them out, but it is definitely doable without a tool. And no signs of micro adjustment holes here. We do have 2 half links, as you can see, so your adjustment range should be okay, but certainly not the absolute best. It's also got quick release spring bars here, so you can basically do everything with this bracelet without tools, which is nice. So you can just pinch this and pop the bracelet on and off. Actually very easily done with this one. As for the integration with the bracelet, well, it's just about perfect, isn't it? Now, not the most imaginative design from on top. It is just all brushed all the way down, which I suspect some of you might think is a bit boring, but from side on, it's the perfect integration, really. And then the crystal on this one is a double-domed sapphire crystal with triple layer anti-reflective coating. And, well, this is a perfect example here of a good, albeit more expensive, sapphire crystal. You can see that legibility is never really a problem, and despite it being marginally domed, as you can see just about there, the amount of cast onto the dial is not bad at all, especially when you put it side by side with some of the cheaper watches. You can obviously get cheaper watches with sapphire crystal pretty easily these days, but many of them, yeah, they just destroy legibility, sadly. Now, there are exceptions to that, of course, but it's good to see here that this one is more than usable. Will give you the best scratch performance, of course. Now, I think a lot of people online seem to love the look of this watch, at least those in the forums. And overall, I actually like it more in person. Is it a watch that I would buy and wear a lot myself? I can't say that, because this watch is definitely too big for me. We'll get to the size in a moment. As for the overall look and design, there's just something I'm not quite feeling about the way that the Atelier is presented or utilized, really. I think by just having the Timex on there, you're always going to get that crowd of people that say, oh, I would never spend this amount of money on a Timex, you see. Whereas maybe if they'd just gone straight for a differently named sub-brand with less reference to Timex, maybe they might have avoided those criticisms, or maybe Timex just doesn't care. Maybe they're selling enough of these already. Do like the lack of text other than that. It does look quite clean, and indeed it does say Swiss made on the front of the dial down here in minute text. And the Swiss certainly know how to keep things clean, that's for sure. No obvious imperfections on first impression. Now, excluding those crown guards, we've got a width here of 40.5 millimeters. We've got a lug to lug of 47.8. Now, if you included those now the wearer experience maybe a fraction longer than that, just because it's got these male end links here, so the bracelet doesn't directly come straight down. Not the thinnest watch, I have to say, this one. As you can see there, 13.3 with that domed crystal. Certainly could be thinner. If you excluded the crystal, it'd be about 12.4. You know what? Given it's tool-free, I'm going to have a go at quickly adjusting this bracelet, and then you can see this watch as it's supposed to fit on my little wrist. And here's a look at it on my 6¼ inch wrist. I have to say, that was pretty easy going, actually. I ended up having to change quite a few links, and it didn't take me long at all. Ended up just sticking with the entirely whole links for me to get the perfect fit on this one. Now, this watch maybe doesn't fit quite as large as the measurements might indicate. Online, it says 41mm, but as my measurements showed, it's really more like a 40.5mm case. And I'd say it perhaps wears slightly smaller than that. To me, it looks more like a maybe 39.5 to 40mm watch. And also, when it's on wrist, it doesn't look as thick for whatever reason, as you can see. Not sure exactly why that is, because the back does protrude quite a bit. But as you can see here, when on wrist, it sinks away. Maybe it's an optical illusion or something, but certainly doesn't wear as thick as I thought. At present, this watch only comes in the one colour, which is this monochromatic look, with the lume there only offering the slightest bit of colour. Definitely has more of that dress diver look about it. Certainly seems to take some inspiration from Blank Pan, I think. Do have that similar colour scheme, and something about the bezel, or maybe the typeface of the bezel reminds me of that a fair amount, albeit the dial is quite different. Yeah, very high quality watch this, and enamel dials always tend to look good. Is it £900 or 800 with the other strap? I'm not sure. Would I spend the extra 100 to get the bracelet? You know what, I probably would. I think this is one of the few instances where a specialty bracelet is actually commanding of the extra money. So if you do go with this watch, I would certainly steer you in this direction. How does this compare to the Galley? Well, I definitely think it's a better made watch than the S1 that I looked at. Now, that was the slightly more affordable of the Galley watches. This one's definitely got a much more legible crystal for starters, and I do think the case finishing is slightly better here as well, at least from a distance. Shame about the bit in the middle, I don't like that quite as much. Apart from that, I think the watch is slightly better made, and it's also got some other functions, does have a much better movement than that other watch, at least from the looks of it. Not too familiar with this one at all, but passes the eye test. Now, let's see if the eye test is any good in the dark, eh? And the lume on this could be pretty good because it's already fairly bright before my UV torch. And you can see there are two different tones of luminescence potentially. And oddly, that lume on the bezel seems quite significantly brighter than that on the markers. I think that on the markers is quite disappointing. The hands are then somewhere in between. It's a shame that it can't all match the brightness of the bezel, because that is exemplary. But yeah, you can see just after a few seconds those markers have faded rather a lot. Now, in pitch black it might be okay, but in this just slightly darker room here, those markers, and to a lesser extent the hands, have almost faded completely. Now, it is worth pointing out that even Rolex lume isn't actually that good. I've already tested it before versus some Chinese clamages, but still a little disappointing in a way, especially considering how good Timex's Indiglo is at the low end of the market. That stuff is pretty special, and in some ways it's kind of unusual that it's Swiss made. I think maybe it would be interesting if they had an American made watch, given that they are an American company who likes to talk about their heritage a lot, though I can't imagine how much a US made watch would end up costing these days. I mean, that would be completely beyond the realms of what Timex could charge, who knows. I'd love to know if any of you in the comments know what the kind of lowest cost US made watches these days. But yeah, this is the Atalier Marine M1a. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. You'll find it also linked down in the description. I can kind of see why this one was so popular, even if I'm not 100% on board with it. And, you know, I personally could never really justify dropping 900 quid on a watch for personal use. For someone at my income level, that would probably be financial irresponsibility if I didn't have a YouTube channel to do with watches. But design-wise, I can appreciate it, and I do quite like it.